If you still support David, you need to watch this, because I guarantee you won't support him after hearing what all he's done. So YouTuber Turkey Tom did a deep dive on David and went into his past. And in doing this, he found out so much as to who David is as a person. He found out that David used to watch live leak videos and even admitted to laughing at them in the past. If you don't know what live leak is, it's basically a place that you could go to see people no longer be alive, like videos of that. Now, if you listen to the lyrics of David's songs, it's very obvious that when he said he watched those live leak videos, he was probably being serious. Allegedly, David would only add girls that were not of age back on Discord while ignoring requests from boys to be added. There was one guy that pretended to be a girl that was not of age and was quickly added by David, but on his main account, David would never add him. Now that, in addition to things like Robin Rivers' comment, it really shows a pattern of David liking them young.
They have a biopsy. They're saying, this is what they suspect, that she had a overdose. But why the hell is she still
But why is she in the car? Yeah.
What if maybe she did overdose because of them, and then they're obviously trying to hide that?
Yeah, hide that.
D4vd had a casket, wreath, and a notepad with a pencil on his recent tour for people to write letters to the deceased. Lord. Also, why are there alleged photos of him bribing Celeste's friends making rounds on social media? And why was D4vd singing about wanting to unalive someone in 2022? And the worst part, his family, his team, his Discord server, and even his close friends and fans allegedly knew but stayed silent.
Yo, wait! Pray for his career, chat. Are we done? Are we
We need to delete it.
Are we Maz, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as she ends, delete the stream too. Can we delete anything? You done for, bro? Y'all are not done? Now you gonna have to wait.
David's disturbing secrets. In the shadows of Hollywood's glamour, 20-year-old singer David remains free, untouched by handcuffs, destines tying him to that fateful Tesla and the tragic end of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Whispers of violence simmer in his past: a quick temper, psychological instability, a disturbing pattern of pursuing young women, and exploiting the blind trust of his teenage fans. How did he lure Celeste and others like her into his web, starting with innocent online chats that twisted into obsession? And why did no one spot the red flags, the dark lyrics, the secretive streams, and stop him before it was too late? David Anthony Burke, better known as the singer David, first connected with Celeste Rivas Hernandez around 2021 when she was just 10 or 11 years old and he was 16. According to accounts from former Fortnite teammates and resurfaced online discussions, their initial interaction happened through the popular game Fortnite, a platform teeming with young players. One individual, who was part of David's gaming circle at the time, recalled how he met her in the game and then encouraged her to join Discord, describing it as a common progression for building closer ties within the community. This early contact is highlighted in multiple leaked messages and clips that have circulated widely, painting a picture of grooming that began innocently enough under the guise of shared gaming interests but quickly escalated into more personal exchanges. Celeste, at such a tender age, became a moderator in David's Discord server, a role that gave her a sense of importance and proximity to the rising star, who was starting to gain traction with his music edits and montages. Witnesses from the server have noted that everyone in the team knew about her presence, and David would often brush off any mentions of her age with jokes, normalizing what many now see as predatory behavior toward a child who was visibly prepubescent. By the time Celeste turned 12, David was 18, and their interactions had deepened significantly, as evidenced by leaked Discord conversations that resurfaced in late September 2025. In one widely shared screenshot from his server, Celeste listed with a profile claiming she was 18 or older, a detail that many believe David fabricated or encouraged to deflect scrutiny. This age discrepancy is a key element in the grooming allegations, as it allowed him to present their relationship publicly without immediate backlash. Reports from server members indicate that David frequently engaged with her privately, sharing messages that blended compliments on her appearance with discussions about music and personal life, gradually isolating her from her real-world peers. One video analysis points out a specific instance where Celeste appeared in a stream, and David referred to her in ways that suggested an intimate familiarity far beyond a typical fan-artist dynamic. The grooming process here involved leveraging his growing fame. By then, he had released tracks like Runaway, and was building a fanbase on TikTok to make Celeste feel special, often inviting her into exclusive chats or giving her moderator privileges that elevated her status among other young fans. The methods David allegedly used to lure Celeste were classic grooming tactics adapted to online spaces. He started with casual gaming sessions on Fortnite, where the environment is casual and anonymous, making it easy to build rapport without parental oversight. From there, he transitioned her to Discord, a more private platform where he could control the narrative. Leaked messages show him sending obsessive texts, sometimes hundreds in a row, expressing jealousy over her interactions with others and framing their bond as something fated or inevitable. In one resurfaced tweet from around that period, David alluded to someone needing to push through their wishes to be with family, which some interpret as a direct reference to Celeste's situation, encouraging her to prioritize him over her home life. This emotional manipulation was compounded by symbolic gestures, like matching tattoos on their fingers, hers reportedly in red ink with his name or a sh symbol, emphasizing secrecy. These acts created a sense of shared rebellion and intimacy, drawing the young girl deeper into his orbit, while he was already an adult navigating the music industry. Efforts to conceal the relationship revealed David's awareness of its inappropriateness. In a clip from January 11, 2024, that resurfaced amid the allegations, Celeste is seen in the background of a stream, and when she made a joking remark about controversial topics involving kids, David panicked, instructing moderators to delete everything and shut down the broadcast abruptly.
Yo, wait! Pray for his career chat. Are we done? Are we?
We need to delete it.
Are we? Maz, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as she ends, delete the stream too. Can we delete everything? You done for, bro? Y'all are not done? Now you gonna have to... wait!
D4vd 125. This moment, capture be shared across platforms like Reddit and X, shows him actively managing visibility to avoid detection. Server logs and leaked chats further indicate that he threatened legal action against anyone who questioned or leaked details, once boasting about preparing to sue a user for 30 years over shared information. Such behaviors not only hid the grooming but also instilled fear in the community, preventing early intervention. Celeste's family members, including her brother, later shared that she spoke of David waiting until she was 18 for more formal commitments, a common groomer's promise that dangles future legitimacy to justify current exploitation. Control and emotional dominance were central to David's approach with Celeste. Resurfaced messages depict him as possessive, reacting with jealousy to her mentions of other boys, even at her young age. In one alleged exchange, he referenced her past interactions in a derogatory way, using it to guilt her into exclusivity. This chi-fi extended to her daily life. Accounts suggest he encouraged her to distance herself from family, portraying their connection as a perfect memory. Under the moon, echoing lyrics from his songs that romanticized isolation and obsession. The grooming was insidious, blending affection with threats, subtle at first, like warnings in his music about partners who end up dead if they don't comply, which some see as veiled coercion. Celeste, being so young, was particularly vulnerable, as evidenced by her role in the server where she was exposed to adult conversations and David's self-admitted fascination with gore and psychological drama, desensitizing her to his darker side. David's symbolic expressions and self-confessions in his music and imagery further underscore the deviance. He crafted a romantic dark persona wearing blood-stained white shirts in videos and using a Hello Kitty avatar covered in blood, mirroring Celeste's known love for the character. Including her Hello Kitty sandals, songs like Romantic Homicide contain lines about killing someone in the mind, released on her birthday, which many now interpret as subliminal admissions of his control over her. The unreleased track, Celeste, explicitly names her, describing obsession and tattoos, turning personal grooming into artistic fodder. This blending of reality and art not only normalized his behavior to fans, but also served as a way to taunt or process his actions, with visuals like candles around a blindfolded girl suggesting ritualistic elements that deepened the emotional hook for a child. Like on Celeste, allegations and rumors point to a pattern of grooming other young girls, often starting at similarly alarmingly young ages. In 2023, leaked chats surfaced showing David engaging with another underage girl, then around 16, in ways that mirrored his tactics with Celeste compliments, private DMs, and emotional manipulation that went viral when reposted in October 2025. Former associates from his Fortnite days claim he ignored male friends, but quickly gave his number to 14 or 15-year-old girls, joking about it in group chats while brushing off concerns. It described how David followed a catfish account posing as a teenage girl immediately, but ignored real male peers, suggesting a targeted preference for very young females. These interactions reportedly occurred through the same Discord server, where he added underage girls exclusively, as noted by a user named James Buttergun who specified it wasn't a joke. The repeated behavior with other girls involved exploiting his vibe as a lonely teen artist to attract fans as young as 12 to 15. David's themes of running away, heartbreak, and isolation resonated with preteens, making them feel understood and drawing them into his online world. He would sing about scenarios of young love turning obsessive, which some now see as grooming blueprints. In one account from a former teammate, David joked about assault in reference to young fans but followed it with humor to deflect, creating an environment where such comments were normalized. Rumors from industry insiders, like comments from figures such as 6ix9ine or DJ Academics, imply that people in the music scene knew of his tendencies toward very young girls but dismissed them as rumors. This pattern extended to billing a young boy image, wearing casual, relatable clothes and using platforms like TikTok and Discord, dominated by minors, to make himself approachable, then shifting to private messages where he could exert control. Accounts from those in his circle suggest David's grooming wasn't isolated to Celeste, he allegedly repeated it with multiple fans, using emotional lures like promising understanding or special access. One story from a Reddit user detailed how he would ignore adult followers but engage deeply with teens, sending gore-related content to desensitize them, much like his admitted addiction to such videos from age 14. This created a bond through shared, dark interests, pulling very young girls into his psychological world. In leaked DMs with another girl, he employed similar tactics: obsessive texting, jealousy over her social life, and framing their connection as unique, all while she was underage. Peers noted he would joke about adding only underage girls to servers, turning it into a running gag that masked the deviance. These methods, starting with gaming, moving to private chats, and layering emotional manipulation, targeted girls at vulnerable ages, exploiting their admiration for his music to foster dependency. Industry perceptions and colleague remarks reinforce the rumors of a broader pattern. Some artists and online commentators have hinted that David's preferences for very young fans were an open secret in certain circles, with one saying, "Everyone in the game knew he had a thing for kids." This aligns with accounts from his Discord moderators, who distanced themselves post-allegations, claiming they thought the girls were 18 to 19 based on profiles, but admitting the server was full of minors. David's deliberate cultivation of a teen vibe, singing about teen heartbreak, using platforms popular with kids, and maintaining a relatable, lonely persona, served as bait. He would draw in fans as young as 13 with promises of friendship or mentorship, then escalate to personal confessions, as seen in resurfaced tweets where he discussed pushing through family ties for ideal situations. This emotional grooming made the girls feel seen, turning fandom into something more insidious, with David positioning himself as their confidant against the world. The way David allegedly built this young vibe was strategic, appealing directly to preteens and early teens who felt isolated. His songs about running away and obsessive love mirrored the fantasies of young listeners, making them believe he understood their struggles. In practice, this meant engaging them on TikTok with content that felt personal, then funneling them to Discord for deeper interactions. One rumored story involves a 14-year-old fan who received his number after commenting on a post, leading to private talks where he shared gory psychological drama ideas, desensitizing her to his darker side. Another account from a former associate described how he ignored male fans but prioritized young girls, giving them special roles like mods to foster loyalty. This pattern, repeated across multiple alleged victims, highlights how he used his rising stardom, from Fortnite edits to hit songs, to create an illusion of connection, preying on their youth and inexperience for emotional and potentially physical control. Move to the accusation relating to use of controlled substances. One detailed account from Celeste's teacher at her middle school in Lake Utsanor highlights her repeated disappearances throughout 2024, noting at least 3 instances where she vanished without explanation. After the first prolonged absence of about a month, authorities located her in Hollywood and returned her to school, where she arrived looking exhausted and disoriented, struggling to recount her experiences coherently. Her stories came out in fragments, her voice trailing off as if recalling details was a strain, and she appeared unusually fatigued, rubbing her temples and avoiding eye contact during conversations. The teacher observed that Celeste seemed detached from her surroundings, her usual alertness replaced by a foggy demeanor that made it hard for her to engage in class activities. This pattern persisted. Upon each return, she exhibited similar signs of wariness and confusion, often mentioning vague adventures in adult-oriented areas far from home. Hollywood, with its vibrant but chaotic scene of clubs and late-night gatherings, was repeatedly cited as a place where young people like her could easily encounter overwhelming influences, leading to her quick disappearance shortly after being brought back. The teacher's testimony, shared in a local news interview, underscores the lack of immediate follow-up from officials despite the school's reports, painting a picture of a girl caught in a cycle of instability marked by visible physical and mental drain. Investigator Steve Fisher, part of a search and rescue team and an FAA-certified drone pilot, provided further analysis on the potential factors contributing to Celeste's condition. He noted that sightings confirmed her being alive into early 2025, but the significant weight loss and overall deterioration suggested prolonged exposure to detrimental elements. Fisher speculated that if the final outcome involved an OD scenario, it might not lead to severe charges, emphasizing the need to examine phone records for any traces of sourcing or involvement. His comments, drawn from experience in similar cases, highlight how such situations often involve hidden facilitators, with the investigation focusing on timelines and communications to uncover any enabling roles. This aligns with broader reports from law enforcement sources indicating a wait for toxicology results, which could take additional weeks beyond initial estimates, potentially revealing long-term impacts on her health. Beyond confirmed details, various online discussions speculate on OD possibilities and direct links to control mechanisms. YouTube videos and forum threads propose that Celeste's demise stemmed from excessive intake, with some suggesting it was facilitated to maintain compliance, leading to a panicked response. One conspiracy circulating on social media references a specific substance like noroxicodone, tying it to imagery in music videos where themes of dependency appear, implying a deliberate provision to a minor. These unverified claims often point to her reduced state as evidence of systematic dulling of awareness, blending with grooming tactics to ensure dependency. Manifestations of impairment in streams and calls fuel additional rumors. Resurfaced clips show Celeste appearing sluggish, her speech slurred and eyes unfocused during shared online sessions, prompting viewers to describe her as not fully present. Friends recounted phone conversations where she sounded intoxicated, rambling before abruptly hanging up, suggesting frequent episodes of altered consciousness. Posts across platforms echo this, with users noting her not sober look in photos, attributing it to external influences that kept her subdued. Rumors about street-level acquisitions add another layer, with speculation that Celeste accessed appetite-suppressing items independently, explaining her drastic physical changes. Some tie this to a mysterious figure potentially involved in supply chains, while others point to erratic behavior in August 2025 as indicative of ongoing effects, estimating her final days around early that month. These narratives, though unconfirmed, circulate widely in communities dissecting the timeline. Accusations of coercion through substances to enforce control persist in online chatter. Discussions suggest methods to impair judgment, combined with emotional holds to prevent resistance or outreach. Lyrics referencing opening up under influence are often cited as hints, with groups theorizing this as a tool to numb critical thinking, especially in isolated settings away from support networks. A sibling of one of Celeste's close friends offered a first-hand narrative about financial incentives used to ensure silence among peers. The ninth grader's sister explained that David was involved with an eighth grader, arranging trips to Los Angeles, and that the group of schoolmates was aware of the inappropriate dynamics. To prevent word spreading, payments were allegedly made to these young witnesses, who were minors themselves, creating a network of hushed complicity. This testimony, shared in community forums, details how the transactions were subtle but effective, with the sibling noting the strange quiet that fell over the kids after such exchanges, highlighting a deliberate strategy to buy discretion from those in the know. The manager's denials and subsequent digital purges provide another angle on efforts to contain information. While publicly disavowing any knowledge, actions like removing shared playlists from streaming services and disabling public interactions on social media were interpreted as a cleanup operation. The former landlord of the Hollywood Hills property enlisted a private investigator to probe deeper, uncovering potential patterns of evasion that extended beyond mere deletions to more structured containments. Unsubstantiated claims expand to direct offers to family members before wider exposure. Reels and nightly segments speculate on preemptive financial gestures to relatives, aiming to stifle inquiries into the relationship. News outlets mention searches for transaction records in related properties, seeking evidence of such arrangements without confirming specifics. Posts across social media accuse of providing hush funds to informed parties, drawing from video content linked to Celeste's limited follower accounts. These allege incentives to those aware of the dynamics, with quotes emphasizing collective responsibility for silence, pointing to Discord communities and local kids as recipients to maintain quiet. Threats of legal action intertwined with buyouts for content removal surface in discussions. Reports of warnings to sue for leaks, coupled with offers to erase compromising images from Los Angeles outings, suggest a hybrid approach of intimidation and compensation. Management figures deleting messages in real time raise questions of complicity, potentially tied to funded cover-ups. Within gaming and online groups, narratives describe how knowledge ceased being discussed, attributed to incentives or pressures. Accusers who initially spoke out reportedly retracted under duress, with team members from early circles noting abrupt halts in conversations, implying arrangements to enforce discretion. in a group dedicated to seeking justice. A member possibly connected as a sibling detailed payments to neighborhood youth to suppress talk of the relationship. School children and educators were aware but refrained from reporting, with the brothers' earlier alerts dismissed for lack of proof. This account stresses the use of funds to secure loyalty from minors informed about travel arrangements. Speculation on offers to kin befores emerged in visual content and evening reports, proposing monetary aid to deter revelations about dating. Entertainment news hinted at probes into financial trails for concealment purposes, without direct affirmations. A circulating post accused disbursing quieting sums to cognizant individuals, based on footage from her sparingly followed profile. It cited calls for accountability among all informed, implicating online forums and local youth as beneficiaries to uphold secrecy. Intimidation via lawsuits blended with purchases for erasures appear in talks. Accounts of cautions against disclosures, paired with propositions to purge incriminating snapshots from city excursions, indicate a mixed tactic of coercion and remuneration. Supervisory personnel erasing communications promptly evoke inquiries into involvement, possibly connected to sponsored obscurations. Among virtual and recreational collectives, tales recount how awareness halted circulation ascribed to enticements or compulsions. Denouncers who first vocalized supposedly withdrew amid strain, with initial cohort participants observing sudden cessations in dialogues, suggesting pacts to impose reticence. The red flags from the birth house. One thing that needs to be noted is that David is still very young, so if the issues in his mindset really exist, when and by what causes were they formed? First, let's look back at his living circumstances. David Anthony Burke was born on March 28, 2005, in the bustling borough of Queens, New York, into a solid African-American family that emphasized unity and stability. His parents stayed committed to each other, fostering an environment rich in Christian values that guided daily life and decision-making. His father held a prominent role as a regional litigation support project manager at a sprawling global law firm, overseeing operations across 7 offices and coordinating with over 1,500 attorneys, which provided the household with financial security and a sense of professional prestige. This backdrop of reliability meant David grew up without material worries, surrounded by a supportive network that included extended family ties rooted in African heritage on his father's side and African American traditions from his mother. Around his early teenage years, the family made a significant move to Houston, Texas, seeking perhaps warmer climates or new opportunities, which offered a fresh start but more suburban setting but might have introduced subtle challenges in social integration, as adjusting to a new community can sometimes leave gaps in everyday oversight and peer connections. This relocation coincided with shifts in his education that amplified a growing sense of seclusion. David attended public school through 7th grade, where he likely experienced the typical mix of classroom interactions and playground dynamics, but then transitioned to homeschooling for the remainder of his high school years. He later reflected on those initial 2 years of homeschooling as pure torment, a period marked by intense loneliness that forced him to navigate adolescence largely on his own terms. Without the structured social environment of traditional schooling, he turned increasingly to the internet for companionship and stimulation, diving deep into online gaming communities and creative outlets. His mother emerged as a key figure in channeling this isolation productively. When his early attempts at creating Fortnite montages on YouTube ran into repeated copyright hurdles in 2021, she suggested he produce original music to bypass the restrictions, sparking his first forays into songwriting and recording. This maternal encouragement turned a potential roadblock into a launching pad, allowing him to focus his energies on gaming and music without the distractions of a conventional school schedule, though it also meant fewer opportunities for real-world friendships and accountability. From around age 14, David's unmonitored online explorations exposed him to deeply disturbing material involving extreme violence, marking a pivotal shift in his interests. He became fixated on graphic videos depicting brutal acts, such as horrific scenes circulating on platforms like LiveLeak and Reddit, bookmarking content that most would find repellent. In a candid admission shared within his online circles, he described reaching a point where such footage no longer elicited a flinch. Instead, he recalled laughing at moments that once shocked him, indicating a profound desensitization that had set in over time. This compulsion extended to preferring these violent depictions over more conventional adult entertainment, declaring them superior in their raw intensity. The habit fueled a fascination with themes of graphic psychological turmoil, directly influencing his creative output. His song lyrics and music videos began incorporating elements of darkness, obsession, and morbidity that echoed this inner world, combined with his self-guided dives into nihilism, where he questioned life's inherent meaning and dismissed organized religion as merely a financial racket. This phase revealed a young mind grappling with existential voids through increasingly grim lenses. Former gaming teammates later recounted how he would share links to such intense content in group chats, describing him as oddly detached, hinting at how these early exposures shaped a persona that blended artistic expression with unsettling undertones, all while his family remained largely unaware of the depth of his digital immersion. Rumors circulating on social media suggest that David's family and close friends might have had inklings about his unconventional online habits, but chose not to probe deeper. One post from mid-September 2025 speculated that his parents and buddies were aware of his intense virtual engagements yet never delved into the specifics, potentially overlooking early indicators of his shifting worldview. The brother of a schoolmate involved in related circles shared via Instagram that he had encountered David and attempted to alert authorities. But the concerns were dismissed due to insufficient details, implying a broader network that might have sensed irregularities but lacked the resolve to intervene. This narrative paints a picture of a supportive, but perhaps overly trusting circle, where his creative talents overshadowed any budding worries. Whispers also tie his homeschooling isolation to philosophical explorations that darkened his outlook. A late September 2025 rumor claimed the self-taught curriculum led him to immerse in nihilistic ideas, viewing faith as a commercial ploy, which seeped into his brooding artistic style. Another online account from the same period suggested his family inadvertently enabled this by not stepping in, allowing his online solitude to foster a mindset detached from conventional morals. These unverified stories highlight a perceived failure in oversight, where his independence bred unchecked influences. David's rise to fame kicked off in the digital trenches of gaming, where from 2018 to 2021, he honed his skills creating Fortnite montages and edits that showcased his editing prowess but frequently stumbled into copyright snags. Frustrated by these barriers over 3 years, he pivoted to crafting original tracks on BandLab, a move sparked by his mother's practical advice to sidestep the issues altogether. His debut release, Runaway, in December 2021, delved into themes of longing, unreciprocated affection, and simmering aggression, setting the tone for his evolving sound. The breakthrough came swiftly with Romantic Homicide in 2022, exploding and amassing over 1.6 billion streams on Spotify, catapulting him from an underground indie talent to a mainstream sensation. This led to a deal with Interscope Records, opening doors to high-profile tours alongside artists like SCA in 2023, collaborations with Kalikas, and brand partnerships with Hollister and Crocs. His 2025 peak included composing an anthem for Fortnite, contributing to soundtracks for shows like Invincible, and expanding his reach through diverse creative ventures. Speculation swirls around how his music subtly previewed personal turmoil. A mid-September 2025 post claimed his early tracks hinted at entanglements starting from age 11, complete with symbolic markings and private exchanges. Another accusation from the same time alleged manipulative payoffs to peers in an online community aware of absences yet silent. Talk of a devoted following resembling a cult emerges in October 2025 discussions, suggesting his streaming style cultivated blind loyalty, where fans overlooked a supposed young companion. September 2025 claims criticized idol worship for blinding people to his seemingly benevolent image masking deeper issues. References to 2016 in his work fuel rumors of early inspirations drawn from youthful encounters, urging a separation of art from life. October 25 post alleged close entanglements lasting over a year affirmed by kin, companions, and digital logs. No one stopped him. There were signs, strange ones, and people saw them. They joked, they warned, they whispered. Yet somehow, Celeste still ended up dead, and no one stopped him. In confirmed reports from established media outlets, the online community surrounding David's Discord server and streaming activities was aware of his interactions with Celeste, who was twime but failed to report it despite clear indicators of an inappropriate relationship. According to an Al Jazeera article dated September 18, 2025, multiple members of the server had access to leaked messages and photos that documented the dynamic, yet no one escalated the matter to authorities, allowing it to persist unchecked for years. The server's staff later issued a statement claiming they were unaware of her true age, believing she was 18 or 19 based on how she was presented in streams and chats. But investigators from the Los Angeles Police Department are why alerts about a missing person went unheeded, noting that the fast-moving nature of the conversations may have contributed to oversights. One former Fortnite teammate, identified as Pistol in the report, recounted that everyone in their group knew about her from as early as 2021, and David would joke about the situation before brushing it off, treating it as lighthearted banter rather than a serious issue, which discouraged any intervention. This lack of action persisted even as Pistol heard her make joking references to assault, but dismissed them as not genuine, illustrating how normalized the behavior became within the circle without anyone stepping in to protect the young girl involved. Celeste's family made repeated attempts to alert authorities, but their concerns were dismissed due to insufficient evidence, as detailed in an NBCLA interview with her brother Matthew Hernandez on September 26, 2025. Matthew explained that he had met David once and knew Celeste was staying with him, prompting him to report suspicions of grooming and abduction directly to the police. But the complaints were waved off without follow-up, leaving the family frustrated and powerless. The family distributed flyers and publicly pleaded for information about her whereabouts. But they couldn't connect the dots to David because Celeste only referred to him as a guy named David, without specifying his celebrity status, which might have delayed any deeper investigation. Additionally, her teacher noted multiple absences in 2024, with Celeste disappearing 3 times before being located in Hollywood only to vanish again, and although the school reported these incidents, no substantial response from law enforcement materialized, highlighting a systemic failure to recognize the patterns of instability in her life tied to this relationship. Matthew further shared in the interview that Celeste had confided in him about plans to wait until she was 18 to marry David, adding to the family's distress as they grappled with the implications but felt powerless without concrete proof to act. Friends and associates around David also overlooked or downplayed red flags, as covered in a News Nation segment on September 26, 2025, where some believed Celeste was a 19-year-old girlfriend due to how David portrayed her in limited public appearances, such as 2 streams where she briefly showed up. They didn't suspect her underage status because of this misrepresentation, and no one probed further despite the obvious age discrepancies that could have been apparent with minimal scrutiny. Another former teammate from the Chronic Fortnite group, Pistol, echoed this, stating that mentions of inappropriate behavior were followed by jokes, leading to uncertainty about whether to take them seriously, and ultimately, no reports were filed. Even David's manager, Josh Marshall, ended the lease on the Hollywood Hills property after a police raid but denied prior knowledge of any issues, suggesting a hands-off approach that allowed problematic behaviors to continue without internal checks. Marshall later spoke out in an E! News report on October 2, 2025, emphasizing his emotional support for his family amid the tragedy, but stopping short of addressing specific rumors about his involvement in early interventions or communications with Celeste's family during her disappearances. Rumors circulating on social media suggest that societal indifference toward protecting young girls contributed to the lack of intervention, with posts claiming that people simply don't prioritize victims in such cases, allowing predators to operate openly without fear. One account highlighted how thousands were aware of David's alleged inappropriate tendencies but remained silent, fostering an environment where grooming from age 12 went unreported. Another post drew parallels to personal experiences of being groomed in high school without adult interference, arguing that the same apathy applied here, where clear signs were ignored. Discussions emphasized how streaming formats create cult-like communities dependent on parasocial relationships, leading audiences to overlook or excuse a 13-year-old girlfriend because of loyalty to the creator. These sentiments often referenced how figures like Pistol from the Fortnite team knew, but treated it as banter, mirroring broader failures where young fans felt too intimidated to speak up against a celebrity. Family and friends of David are rumored to have known, but not intervened effectively, with posts suggesting that people recognized the wrongness enough to save evidence like screenshots but didn't escalate it. Accusations extend to the family for failing to push harder, implying a breakdown in support systems that could have halted the progression. One detailed rumor involved Matthew Hernandez's interactions with police, where he provided photos but was told it lacked evidence, leading to family frustration echoed in online forums. Another account claimed that Celeste's ex-boyfriend, Damian Hernandez, heard rumors of her connection to David, but didn't think it with as he shared in a TMZ interview on October 1, 2025, describing her as always happy despite family issues, which blinded him to the danger. Victim blaming and denial are highlighted in online discussions, with posts noting that predators feel no need to hide because support for girls is lacking, allowing grooming to happen out loud without consequences. Questions arise about why proof of grooming isn't enough for arrest, emphasizing a perceived failure in the system to act on straight evidence of rape and killing. These narratives collectively paint a picture of widespread awareness met with inaction, driven by denial, loyalty, or fear, often citing how Josh Marshall's post-raid denial only amplified suspicions of complicity. Rumors suggest family members knew of trips to Ella but didn't connect it to danger, allowing multiple disappearances without escalation. Industry whispers claim collaborators heard grooming rumors in 2023 but dismissed them as teen drama, prioritizing hits over ethics. Online diaries describe how David's dark lyrics were praised as edgy art, blinding fans to real-life parallels, like obsession themes matching his alleged control over young girls. Posts argue societal biases against believing young victims allowed the grooming to continue openly, with no one stepping in despite the obvious age gaps. These detailed insights reveal a profound failure in vigilance, where signs in behavior, career themes, and relationships were evident but unaddressed. Speculation includes how parasocial bonds made fans complicit, defending David despite knowing about the underage girlfriend, creating a shield against exposure. Stories recount leaked messages showing control over young fans, yet no one connected them to real harm until later. Posts argue society's failure to separate art from artist blinded people to lyrics as confessions, allowing the pattern to persist. Further rumors detail how industry insiders whispered about tendencies but prioritized success, with collaborators like those in Fortnite ignoring red flags. Anonymous diaries describe seeing possessive tweets but dismissing them as artistic expression, contributing to the inaction. One particularly chilling story from social media involves a user recalling how Matthew Hernandez shared unreleased photos of Celeste with investigators, confirming text exchanges about her being pressured into situations. But even then, the police response was minimal, echoing the family's broader frustration. Another related tale from a former Discord user describes overhearing discussions about David's 13-year-old girlfriend. In group chats, where members like those close to Pistol joked about it but never flagged it to mods or authorities, fearing exclusion from the exclusive community. In a separate thread, Damien Hernandez's mother, Jamie, spoke to TMZ about the tragedy hitting close to home, urging caution on social media while admitting she had heard vague rumors, but didn't push for more details, assuming Celeste's happiness masked deeper issues. Rumors extend to how police reports from Discord were allegedly ignored multiple times, with evidence of grooming dismissed as insufficient, allowing the situation to escalate. One post questions why clear proof of underage involvement didn't prompt immediate action, suggesting systemic delays favor the famous. Narratives accuse fans of victim blaming by denying the grooming's severity, claiming ages were lied about to excuse the behavior. Detailed accounts from social media describe how David's mates knew of the underage additions but participated in the jokes, creating a culture where reporting felt like betrayal. Posts share how teachers reported absences but saw no follow-up, mirroring family efforts that went unheeded. These tales underscore a web of missed opportunities, where signs in behavior, career themes, and relationships were evident but unaddressed. The industry's boycott. Given David's current situation, one crucial aspect that demands attention is his growing tension with people in the entertainment industry, conflicts that seemed to exist both before and after the tragedy unfolded. David experienced limited but notable conflicts in his personal relationships and professional circles prior to any major public scrutiny, often stemming from early allegations of inappropriate behavior that surfaced sporadically without escalating into widespread controversy. One early tension arose with Gonzalo, a fellow member of online gaming communities like Fortnite and Discord, who publicly accused David of engaging in manipulative interactions with younger fans starting around 2021. Gonzalo detailed in leaked videos and messages how David allegedly pressured him to retract statements, shifting his narrative to claim the involved party had misrepresented their age as 19, a detail that didn't align with timelines shared in community chats. This clash highlighted a pattern of denial and intimidation, as Gonzalo's initial claims included vivid accounts of David transporting young acquaintances to Los Angeles under questionable circumstances. Yet the dispute remained confined to niche online forums without drawing broader attention or resolution. In the Discord and Twitch ecosystems, where David built his initial fanbase, subtle frictions emerged among members who noticed his preferential treatment of younger female participants, with some moderators and ushing off jokes about age differences as harmless banter, avoiding direct confrontation to maintain group harmony. Former teammates from his Fortnite days, such as Pistol, recounted instances where lighthearted remarks about boundaries were dismissed, allowing potential issues to simmer without formal challenge, as the focus stayed on collaborative gaming and content creation rather than personal conduct. Within his family and close friends, David's relationships appeared supportive on the surface, but underlying whispers suggested overlooked concerns. His parents, who had relocated the family from Queens to Houston during his early teens, encouraged his shift from gaming montages to music production, with his mother specifically advising him to create original tracks to circumvent copyright problems in 2021. However, accounts from those peripherally connected, like the brother of a schoolmate, indicated that family members might have been aware of unusual social dynamics, but refrained from probing deeper, perhaps prioritizing his burgeoning career over vague red flags. This lack of intervention created a quiet rift, as external observers later speculated that the stable, faith-centered household, bolstered by his father's role in a global law firm, provided a facade of normalcy that masked any internal discussions about his online habits or associations. In the broader circle of acquaintances, including early collaborators like Jason the Ween, initial bonds formed through shared musics in 2023, But subtle strains appeared when Jason publicly distanced himself, clarifying they weren't close friends despite a joint song and group dinner, hinting at discomfort with David's growing persona without escalating to open conflict at the time. In the industry, David's pre-scandal interactions were largely collaborative, with few overt disputes, though underlying unease simmered in creative partnerships. His 2023 collaboration with Kaliukis on a track proceeded smoothly, with no public fallout during production, as both artists focused on the artistic synergy despite David's emerging dark lyrical themes that some insiders quietly questioned. Interscope Records, having signed him after his 2022 breakout hit, continued promotions without interruption, viewing his edgy style as marketable rather than problematic, even as isolated leaks about his online behavior circulated in niche circles. Brand deals with Hollister and Crocs in early 2025 went forward amid his rising profile, with campaigns highlighting his youthful appeal, though internal reviews might have flagged his social media presence as potentially risky without halting progress. Manager Josh Marshall handled logistics like housing arrangements in Hollywood Hills without apparent issues, maintaining a professional front that prioritized career growth over any whispered concerns about personal conduct. The wave of boycotts targeting David in the industry following heightened scrutiny largely appears driven by a desire to distance from potential liability, though some actions carry an undercurrent of condemning his alleged behavior. Kaliukis' swift request to remove their collaborative track from streaming platforms, as reported in entertainment outlets, stemmed from her public statement labeling the developments as disturbing, emphasizing they were not personal friends and had only worked together once, which suggests a mix of ethical stance against the accusations, a strategic move to protect her own brand from association. Interscope Records' decision to halt all promotions and cancel his planned tour dates across the US and Europe, according to industry reports, was framed as a precautionary step amid ongoing investigations, prioritizing risk management over outright moral judgment. Yet the label's silence on specifics implies an implicit rejection of the conduct in question. Hollister and Crocs quietly pulled campaign images and ended partnerships, with representatives noting the removal was immediate upon emerging details, indicating a primary focus on safeguarding corporate image from backlash while indirectly signaling disapproval of the implicated actions. Jason Nguyen's public retraction of support, clarifying limited familiarity, reflects a similar blend, avoiding entanglement in controversy while distancing from the ethical implications of the claims. Rumors of additional shunning, such as SCA and Billie Eilish remaining silent after previous reposts of his work, point to a broader industry hesitation to engage, likely motivated by fear of legal or reputational fallout rather than direct condemnation. Fortnite and Epic Games' continued association with Anthem collaboration, despite circulating whispers, fuel speculation of internal debates, with some suggesting the company overlooked early signs to capitalize on his popularity, only facing potential backlash later. Overall, these responses lean toward self-preservation, mitigating damage to careers and brands in a high-stakes environment, though elements of moral distancing emerge, particularly in public statements that highlight discomfort with the behavior at hand. The notion that the celebrity world is inherently bad is an oversimplification that doesn't hold up under scrutiny, as it overlooks the diversity of individuals and systemic nuances within the industry. While cases like David's highlight problematic patterns, such as delayed responses to red flags for the sake of profit, akin to other high-profile controversies, these don't define everyone in fame's orbit. For instance, actions by figures like Kaliukis demonstrate a capacity for ethical accountability, choosing to sever ties despite potential professional costs, which counters the blanket narrative of corruption. Silence from others, like SCA or Billie Eilish, might reflect caution in an ecosystem where unfounded associations can derail careers, rather than universal malice. The entertainment sphere mirrors broader society, amplifying both virtues and vices through visibility. Fame can exacerbate bad behavior due to power imbalances and lack of oversight, but it also spotlights positive influences like artists advocating for social causes. Truth lies in recognizing structural issues. Cover-ups and enablers exist, but painting all celebrities as villains ignores those who navigate the system with integrity, proving the statement more false than true in its absolutism. David will be arrested. As of mid-October 2025, authorities with the Los Angeles Police Department have explicitly stated that he is nor a person of interest in the circumstances surrounding the discovery of remains in the front trunk of a Tesla registered in his name, a vehicle he had owned since 2023. Captain Scott Williams of the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division addressed this directly in statements to major outlets, emphasizing that no one is currently being pursued in that capacity, largely because the official cause of the remains condition remains undetermined, pending the results of a comprehensive toxicology analysis. Williams elaborated during a press briefing that the deferral of this determination stems from the complexity of the findings, with the analysis potentially extending another 6 weeks from its initiation in late summer. He underscored that Burke has been fully forthcoming with investigators, providing access to his devices and records without resistance, and that the department sees no immediate criminal responsibility extending beyond the mere presence of the items in question. This position was reiterated in official releases, where the LAP clarified that any potential liability would be limited to matters of concealment if evidence emerges. But nothing at this juncture warrants formal charges or restraint. The investigation itself continues with deliberate thoroughness, marked by a significant raid on Burke's Hollywood Hills residence in mid-September, where officers from the Robbery Homicide Division meticulously collected a range of items, including laptops, hard drives, and various bags that could hold digital or physical traces. Sources within the department describe the operation as exhaustive, involving forensic teams sifting through every corner to map out timelines through phone records and metadata from seized devices. Steve Fisher, a seasoned private investigator and FAA-certified drone pilot who has assisted in numerous high-profile searches, weighed in on the process, noting that recent sightings placed the individual in question as alive well into the early months of 2025, which complicates narratives of prolonged absence. Fisher, speaking to international media, suggested that the decomposition timeline, estimated by police as several weeks prior to the discovery, points toward either deliberate interference or an unfortunate accident, with the toxicology report poised to be the linchpin. Captain Williams echoed this in a late September update, confirming the timeframe, ensuring that officers are leaving no stone unturned, including cross-referencing call logs and location data to reconstruct movements. These steps, while not targeting Burke exclusively, inherently draw him into the spotlight, as the vehicle's registration ties him directly to the scene, prompting questions about why it sat impounded for days before alerting anyone. In response to the mounting scrutiny, Burke has taken visible steps to recalibrate his professional life, abruptly canceling the entirety of his withered tour across the United States and Europe, a decision announced in late September that left fans scrambling for refunds and promoters reevaluating schedules. His representatives framed the move as a necessary pause due to unforeseen challenges, reiterating his ongoing collaboration with law enforcement while hinting at the emotional toll of the situation. Interscope Records, his label since the breakout success of his 2022 hit, swiftly suspended all promotional efforts, shelving the deluxe edition of his album, Withered Deluxe Marcissance, that was slated for imminent release. Industry insiders, speaking off the record to entertainment journalists, described the halt as a pragmatic shield against escalating risks, with one executive noting that the label's hands were tied by the probe shadow, even as streams of older tracks paradoxically surged amid public curiosity. This professional retreat underscores Burke's current stasis, where creative output grinds to a halt, forcing him to confront a career trajectory suddenly derailed by external forces beyond his control. Adding to the personal strain, Burke executed a transfer of ownership for 2 properties in Cypress, Texas, placing them under his mother's name in mid-September, a maneuver legal experts have labeled as a prudent financial safeguard amid the unfolding events. Sources close to the family described it as a forward-thinking step to insulate assets from potential complications, though it has fueled perceptions of preemptive maneuvering. Shortly thereafter, the family home in Texas became the target of a swatting incident, where a false emergency call prompted a heavily armed response from local law enforcement, leaving his parents startled and demanding answers from dispatchers. Officers arrived with weapons drawn, only to realize the call was fabricated, a tactic increasingly common in high-profile cases to harass or distract. The episode, detailed in local reports, highlighted the ripple effects on his inner circle, with neighbors recounting the chaos of flashing lights and tense standoffs in what was otherwise a quiet suburb. The property's former landlord in Hollywood Hills, Malden Trifunovic, has independently escalated the matter by retaining a private investigator to delve deeper into the circumstances, citing the residence's unintended role in the saga as justification for the hire. Trifunovic explained in interviews that the decision stemmed from a desire to reclaim clarity for his asset, which had been thrust into the IDIV vortex without warning. The PI, operating under strict confidentiality, is reportedly sifting through public records and potential leads, with Trifunovic hinting that any revelations could illuminate overlooked connections, potentially aiding official efforts or prompting further scrutiny. Several elements from the police narrative subtly hint at the potential for charges against Burke, even as current statements downplay immediacy. The ongoing examination of cell phone records and raid-seized evidence aims to uncover the full truth, as articulated by Captain Williams in a September update, where he alluded to piecing together a chronological puzzle that could reveal intent or negligence. Forensic scientist Amy Santoro, contributing to media analyses, posited that should the toxicology lean toward an OD scenario, homicide charges might be off the table. Yet a concealment allegation could still materialize given the placement and state of the discovery. Santoro elaborated that the logistics of such a situation, wrapping and positioning remains, raise logistical improbabilities for a lone individual under impairment, potentially implicating collaborative or coercive dynamics. Moreover, authorities' documentation of 11 welfare checks at the family's between February and April 2024, including 3 on a single March day, suggests a documented pattern of concern that police now revisit, possibly linking back to Burke's orbit through communication trails. These repeated interventions, detailed in dispatch logs, portray a household in distress, with officers noting vague responses that hindsight might reframe as evasion. Speculation abounds in online discussions that Burke faces imminent legal repercussions, particularly if the toxicology unveils traces of substances that could tie him to endangerment or distribution to a minor, a charge that carries severe penalties in California. Videos circulating on platforms dissect the private investigator's involvement, suggesting Trifunovic's probe might unearth digital footprints or witness statements that propel authorities toward formal action. Anonymous contributors to these threads recount how the landlord's initiative could pressure the LAPD, with one observer noting that such independent efforts often catalyze breakthroughs in stalled cases. Whispers of an impending arrest for the manager, Josh Marshall, have proliferated, though quickly debunked as fabrications, with Marshall himself countering in a brief public note that he maintains no entanglement, underscoring the fog of misinformation clouding the narrative. The asset transfers and swatting episode are frequently cited as indicators of guilt or anticipation, with commentators portraying the Tefty shift as a textbook evasion tactic, executed precisely when scrutiny intensified. One analytical clip frames it as a calculated exit strategy, arguing that the timing, mere days after the placement, betrays foreknowledge of escalating fallout. Fans and skeptics alike dissect the swatting as either retaliatory harassment or a smokescreen, with some positing it as a desperate bid to shift focus from mounting evidence. The tour cancellation, too, draws conjecture as less a voluntary retreat and more a coerced surrender under police advisement, with anecdotal reports from concert organizers hinting at whispered warnings from investigators that made resumption untenable. Videos compiling these threads portray Burke as cornered, his cooperative posture masking a scramble to fortify defenses. The private investigators' developments further stoke fears of an arrest, with leaks from Trifunovic's circles suggesting early findings that could corroborate digital trails leading back to Burke. Enthusiasts of true crime content speculate that the PI's access to unredacted logs might expose inconsistencies in timelines, prompting a revaluation by the LAP. One detailed breakdown questions why police seem indifferent to archived online exchanges, estimating that evidentiary hurdles could delay but not derail prosecution. Burke's retention of Blair Burke, a litigator with a storied history of defending controversial clients, is dissected as a telltale sign of bracing for the storm, with observers noting the attorney's track record in high-stakes defenses often signals clients anticipating the worst. A compilation video highlights how the transfer of assets aligns with this hire, painting a portrait of systematic preparation that belays the official calm. Rumors swirl around the bodyguard, Marky next door, with tales of his attendance at a major convention despite whispers of implication, though authorities swiftly dispelled any formal ties. Participants in these discussions recount how Marky publicly refuted the claims, insisting on his non-involvement, yet the persistence of the narrative underscores the toxic brew of speculation enveloping Burke's entourage. The notion of fabricated identification to mask age discrepancies ties into OD theories, with anonymous friends sharing stories of erratic communications that hint at a web of concealment, potentially escalating to charges if corroborated. These threads weave a tapestry of foreboding, where each police visit to the family, 11 in total, clustered around spring 2024, serves as a breadcrumb trail that could culminate in accountability. From the police side, Amy Santoro's forensic insights provide a chilling undercurrent, her assessment that certain scenarios render self-handling implausible, opening doors to conspiracy charges. The LAP's measured language, unclear culpability beyond concealment, carries an ominous weight, implying that while homicide may not fit, lesser but damning infractions loom. Officers' recounting of the swatting's terror, with guns drawn on unsuspecting parents, evokes the collateral terror of scrutiny, while the raid's haul of seized items promises revelations from data dives. Captain Williams' commitment to exhaustive review, coupled with the toxicology's ticking clock, fosters a sense that closure and consequence nears, even if veiled in procedural patience. Burke's maneuvers, from tour halts to asset shifts, resonate as harbingers in speculative circles, where the cooperative veneer crumbles under analysis of timing and totality. The private investigator's shadow work, Trifunovic's resolve to unearth truths amplifies the pressure, with whispers that his findings could tip the scales toward indictment. As police sift through digital detritus and chemical clues, the mosaic of 11 family visits emerges as a silent indictment of overlooked pleas, each one a thread that might bind Burke to unforeseen reckonings. In this suspended state, every statement from Williams or Fisher echoes subtext, every cancelled show a concession, building toward a resolution that feels inexorably close, if not yet crystallized. A toxic but vulnerable fan base. For the side of the community, the issue of regulating celebrities has come under sharp focus in recent years, with cases like that of the young artist David serving as a stark illustration of how unchecked fame can spiral into problematic dynamics, particularly when both the star and their followers are in their formative years. At just 20 years old, David represents a new wave of influencers who rise rapidly through social media platforms, amassing a fanbase predominantly composed of teenagers and preteens eager for connection in an increasingly digital world. This youth-centric ecosystem amplifies the risks, as parasocial relationships, those one-sided bonds where fans feel intimately linked to a celebrity without reciprocal knowledge, thrive unchecked, blurring lines between admiration and unhealthy attachment. In David's trajectory, his music's dark, introspective themes of obsession and heartbreak resonate deeply with young listeners navigating their own emotional turbulence, fostering a sense of shared vulnerability that can mask deeper influences. Experts note that such connections, while seemingly benign, often lead to fans projecting personal ideals onto the artist, defending them reflexively against any criticism and normalizing behaviors that might otherwise raise alarms. Parasocial relationships, first coined by psychologists in the 1950s to describe audience bonds with media figures, have evolved dramatically in the social media era, becoming more intense and accessible for younger demographics. A 2017 study highlighted how these ties can aid adolescents in identity formation and autonomy building, offering role models who seem attainable through constant online presence. However, the downside emerges when celebrities like David, emerging from gaming communities at a tender age, cultivate followings that mirror their own youth, creating echo chambers where boundaries erode. For instance, the Colleen Bollinger controversy involving Adam McIntyre underscores this peril. Bollinger, a YouTube star known for her comedic persona, built a devoted young fanbase through interactive content, only for revelations to surface about inappropriate messaging and emotional manipulation with underage admirers. McIntyre, who was 13 when their interactions began, detailed how Bollinger's encouragement of personal disclosures fostered a false intimacy, leading him to share vulnerabilities that she later exploited in group chats for laughs. This story, detailed in extensive video testimonies and media coverage, illustrates how parasocial bonds can transition from inspirational to exploitative, with young fans like McIntyre feeling groomed into roles that serve the celebrity's ego rather than their own growth. In David's sphere, similar patterns play out, where his fan base, largely teens drawn to his raw, emotive lyrics, forms intense loyalties that resist external critique. At 20, David himself embodies the precocity of modern stardom, having transitioned from Fortnite edits to chart-topping hits in his late teens, a path that exposes both him and his followers to unfiltered influences without adequate safeguards. Discussions in psychological analyses point out that when celebrities are barely adults themselves, they lack the maturity to navigate power imbalances, often replicating the very isolation and obsession themes in their art that attract vulnerable youth. Fans, averaging 12 to 17 years old according to platform demographics, latch onto this relatability, pouring emotional energy into defending the artist online even when inconsistencies in behavior surface. The result is a feedback loop where the celebrity's unchecked actions, be it through private messages or public personas, shape impressionable minds, teaching them to prioritize idol worship over critical thinking. The risks for young people in these dynamics are multifaceted, extending beyond emotional entanglement to tangible harms that can alter developmental trajectories. One primary danger lies in the distortion identity formation. Adolescents, already grappling with self-discovery, may internalize a celebrity's projected image as their own, leading to unrealistic expectations or mimicry of flawed behaviors. In the Bollinger-McIntyre saga, McIntyre recounted how the comedian's encouragement led him to overshare personal traumas in pursuit of her approval, resulting in public humiliation when those details were mocked in group settings. This exploitation eroded his trust in relationships, a common outcome where parasocial ties turn predatory, leaving young fans with lasting scars on their self-esteem and social skills. Similarly, when celebrities like David curate dark, introspective content, it can desensitize followers to themes of isolation or turmoil, normalizing mental health struggles without providing healthy coping mechanisms, potentially exacerbating anxiety or depression in teens who see their idol as a mirror. Financial vulnerabilities add another layer of peril as young fans, often with limited resources, invest heavily in merchandise, tickets, or donations to feel closer to their idol. Reports from consumer watch groups detail how parasocial marketing preys on this, with celebrities encouraging exclusive content or meet and greets that drain pocket money, sometimes leading to debt or strained family relations. A 2023 analysis of fan spending patterns revealed that teens in such bonds are 40% more likely to make impulsive purchases, driven by a fear of missing out on perceived intimacy. In extreme cases, this evolves into exploitation, where celebrities solicit gifts or support under the guise of mutual affection, as seen in various influencer scandals where underage fans send money or items, only to receive minimal acknowledgement, fostering a cycle of unfulfilled emotional investment. Mental health repercussions loom large, with parasocial attachments often filling voids left by real-world connections, but at a cost. Psychologists warn that when these bonds shatter, through a celebrity's misstep or unavailability, young fans experience grief akin to a breakup, sometimes triggering isolation or self-harm. The 2017 study on adolescent autonomy noted positive aspects like inspiration, but cautioned that over-reliance can stunt social development, as fans prioritize virtual interactions over peer relationships. For David's audience, immersed in his music's themes of heartbreak and obsession, this risk intensifies. Lyrics that romanticize pain might encourage teens to view their own struggles through a dramatic lens, delaying help-seeking behaviors. Platforms exacerbate this by algorithmically pushing content that deepens engagement, creating echo chambers where criticism is drowned out by collective defense, further entrenching the bond. Social risks manifest in how these relationships can expose youth to inappropriate content or interactions. Celebrities with young fanbases often operate in unregulated digital spaces, where private messages or exclusive groups blur professional and personal lines. The Bollinger case exemplifies this, with McIntyre describing how group chats devolved into spaces for oversharing, where the star solicited intimate details from minors, using them for entertainment value among adult participants. This dynamic not only breaches trust but also normalizes boundary violations, teaching young people that fame justifies intrusion. In broader terms, such exposures can lead to cyberbullying when fans clash over loyalties, or even real-world dangers if personal information is shared in pursuit of closer ties. The influence extends to value formation, where celebrities shape moral compasses without accountability. Young fans, idolizing figures like David for their authenticity, may adopt skewed perspectives on relationships or success, viewing obsessive themes as romantic ideals. Educational reports highlight how this can perpetuate cycles of unhealthy attachments, with teens emulating celebrity behaviors in their own lives, from dramatic expressions of emotion to risky online engagements. When celebrities falter publicly, the disillusionment can shatter worldviews, leading to cynicism or withdrawal, underscoring the need for better digital literacy to mitigate these impacts. Economic pressures compound these issues, as the parasocial economy thrives on young consumers. Fans often feel compelled to support through purchases or subscriptions, believing it strengthens the bond, but this can strain limited budgets, fostering guilt or inadequacy when unable to keep up. Studies on adolescent consumerism link this to increased stress, with some teens risking secretive spending that erodes family trust. In celebrity-driven markets, the push for exclusive merch or events preys on this vulnerability, turning admiration into a financial burden that disproportionately affects lower-income youth. Cognitive development also suffers, as exposure to curated personas can hinder critical thinking. Teens in parasocial grips may struggle to discern reality from performance, accepting celebrity narratives at face value and resisting contradictory information. This echo chamber effect, amplified by algorithms, can isolate individuals from diverse viewpoints, stunting empathy and social awareness. Psychological reviews emphasize that for preteens, whose brains are still wiring for judgment, this can embed biased perceptions that persist into adulthood. Physical safety risks arise when parasocial bonds encourage real-world pursuits, such as attending events alone or sharing locations for a chance at interaction. High-profile incidents reveal how celebrities' encouragements can lead fans into unsafe situations, from crowded meetups to private encounters promised online. For David's demographic, immersed in gaming and music scenes, this translates to heightened exposure through Discord servers or TikTok lives, where invitations to hang out can mask ulterior motives, leaving young participants at risk of exploitation without parental awareness. The interplay of these factors creates a perfect storm for vulnerability, where the allure of connection overrides caution. As celebrities like David navigate their own youth under public eyes, their missteps ripple outward, affecting fans who lack the tools to navigate the power imbalance. This underscores a broader call for oversight, from platform regulations to educational initiatives, to shield emerging generations from the shadows of unchecked fame. In the end, the tragic loss of Celeste Rivas Hernandez casts a heavy shadow a heartbreaking reminder of a young life cut short far too soon. At just 15, Celeste's vibrant spirit, marked by her love for Hello Kitty and dreams yet to unfold, was extinguished, leaving her family and community in profound grief. Her brother, Matthew Hernandez, shared through tearful messages the pain of searching for her over a year, clinging to hope through countless flyers and pleas, only to face an unbearable reality. The innocence of a girl who once lit up rooms with her laughter was overshadowed by a web of manipulation and unanswered questions. Her story now a cautionary echo in a world where young voices can be silenced by unchecked influence. Celeste deserved a future filled with possibility, not a narrative marred by darkness and betrayal. Her memory lingers as a call for justice, urging society to protect its youth from those who prey on trust and vulnerability. As investigations continue, the ache of her absence fuels a resolve to honor her by demanding accountability, ensuring no other child faces such a fate. Celeste's light, though dimmed, will not be forgotten, her story a poignant plea for vigilance and change.